Hello and welcome to another week and another Gamestyle Live. As you will notice, I haven't screwed up the intro this time because I know exactly what's coming. I'm joined by Steve and
Hello.
Andrew. How are you doing, gents?
Fine.
I'm
Great.
okay.
Yep.
Just dash through the door.
Yeah, it's like rock up from your super uber London lifestyle rock and roll profession.
For putting pictures on puzzles.
Putting pictures on puzzles. Actually, that sounds like a really trivialising your job, but I'm sure it's quite rewarding in its own way.
I do all the production thing as well. I'm responsible for them all going to print as well. It's a real
Oh,
job.
right, you see that actually, when you say things like that, it sounds like it's actually a proper job.
Yeah, no, every
million
now and
a
again
year.
it gets Photoshop a Nolan sister or something like that.
The alive ones.
What's getting me right is every week I tell myself just before this thing goes live, I'm gonna try and do the intro less formal. And
You'll figure
then
it out
I
one day.
freeze and can't think of anything to go formal.
Gamestar Live!
Yeah.
How are you?
Hello.
How are you today, Brad?
Yes, how are you, Bradley?
Oh, we're gonna start this now as a regular thing where we actually ask how I am.
Well, see, we have to like feign some kind of interest, and kind of when it can't be indifferent towards you forever. So
I feel a bit funny today. It's I've played some video games and I want to start murdering people apparently.
Oh, cool.
Which
That's
brings
nice.
us nicely into this week's show.
you know,
Brings us nicely into the police being found.
it's just like that'd be amazing. That would get our ratings right up. And when the SWAT team kick your door in and zip tie your hands behind your back and bundle you into a police van, or we're sat there going,
Don't worry,
"Okay."
we'll keep talking. We'll be
keep-
professional.
Yeah, we'll keep the show going because
Don't
that's
worry
how
me,
it works.
actually. Right, if we ever get anything that's really controversial, like we say, hey, Anita Sarkeesian, I agree with everything she says.
It's not controversial. That's common sense. No,
No,
actually, that's not common sense because that's a subject we're not going to talk about because I'm not
No.
too clever about.
But then
common sense.
some weirdo out there is going to swap me.
It
And that could actually happen live on air. And you're right, it would be a ratings booster.
would
I'm
be
pretty
really-
sure that the British version of swatting someone is to walk up to their face and hit them with a fly swat. So, okay.
Order 10 Domino's pizzas
The,
to
lo-
their door.
the local community officer knocking on your door and going, excuse me, I've just had a phone call.
So, yes, excuse me, we've got a phone call about a disturbance at this property. Can you tell me about it? Yeah, it's some tool on the internet. They're wasting your time, dude. All right,
The
thank you very
what?
much. On the what? The Tinternets. Ebieki, thump, black pudding, flat cats, whippets, etc.
Oh, dear. No, I'm in a great mood this week. For nothing to do with video games. It's not often I give my son credit, which makes me a really bad dad.
Yes, it does.
But
Again,
he's-
linking neatly into the episode.
No, 8 years old. 8 years old. He's playing up for the 12Bs in his ice hockey. He's playing up an age group. He scored his first goal and got his first assist. Playing for his first time as a forward for that age group, and he's been selected for the next game. So I am a proud freaking dad right now.
Cool. Good work.
Good work.
You see, the subject we're talking about, me and Andrew have got part of it we can talk about, but the other part I've got, unless Andrew's got some children that I don't know about, then I got no fucking clue about.
None
being
that
a
he's going to
parent.
admit on the record.
Nope. Nope. But segueing on from last week's segue is an awful word. Continuing on from last week.
Segways are those crappy bikes, aren't they? That kill people.
It's not a bike. It's a fucking. Anyway, continuing on from last week, violence in video games, violence and bad in video games, the ruination of mankind, the corruption of our children. What we think of the children, won't we?
Violence week.
Violence,
Quite sharp.
violence of the week. What?
We touched on it, and violence in video games and the hoorah over kids that are allowed to play them and parents.
Since forever. Since
Yeah.
absolutely forever.
Yeah, and parents that will quickly lay the blame on video games for anything their kids do wrong. The media who like to jump on that bandwagon.
Oh, the media
And-
can't speak.
It's all, for want of a better word, bullcrap.
But I caught my nephew playing Court. My nephew on I was on the Xbox, and he's my friend on there, obviously, and he was playing GTA 5 for some reason. And I text my sister, and I said, you probably know anyway, but Jack's on GTA 5. I'm doing my uncle duty and dobbing him in.
You busy grass.
Yeah, pretty much. And she says, yes, I know, I'm aware, but thank you very much for looking out for him. I then got a text message 10 minutes later from my nephew saying, thanks for dobbing me in. Like, right, okay. I says, it's what I live for. I need my stock of salty child tears to keep me looking.
You're like Monsters Inc., but instead of their screams, you live off their tears.
Yep, they're bitter, salty tears of my nephews. I live for their misery. Actually, I don't. I love them to death. But it's kind of... this is actually my big thing about violence and video games. It's like the violence thing's really weird. I was actually thinking about this before we came on because I was playing Dying Light again because I hadn't played it for a while, and I thought, right, I want to play on with the story and I want to get on with it. And it's one of the most violent games I've played in a long time. In terms of the dismemberment and the gore and the general unpleasantness of it, and it struck me how utterly desensitized to it I am. How completely and totally, unequivocally, I don't give a. I don't care. I couldn't care less about lopping the. It's like it becomes a mechanic because when you're running about in Dying Light, you know, you can drop kick zombies, which is always hilarious, and you can jump over them and you kind of hack their arms off and whatever. But you get to a point where you are effectively aiming for the neck with the swing of your melee weapons, because the guns are like in Dead Island, they're fucking useless, and so you kind of lopping the heads off, and you're like cutting 2 or 3 heads off left, right, and centre when you get enough decent weapons and you're powerful enough. And it's kind of like at my age, given I've been playing games since I was 4 years old, it's like I just don't care anymore. I don't. It fails to move me in any kind of capacity, one way or the other. There is one series that do that, but we'll get to that in a bit. So yeah, it's kind of like it's difficult to put a measure on how violent and how gory and how terrible, inverted commas, Daily Mail something is, because it doesn't do anything to my emotional state anymore.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. It's I mean, I go back to some of the first video games I played, and if I look at stuff like Operation Wolf and things like that, that's putting a gun in my hand, which is a lot more realistic than I think Call of Duty is today. The fact I've got something physical in my hand, it's shaped like a gun, it's designed to look like a gun and stuff like that.
It was an Uzi, wasn't it? It was an Uzi shape. It was literally the Uzi 9mm. It was
weird. You've got that. And then you took that up to another level when the Guncom became popular on the PlayStation, and that was amazing. You had Nintendo was selling to kids a bazooka type thing.
Yeah, but to be fair, the Mega Drive instead, the Super Scope and the Menacer were terrible.
They were, but they were still advertising to kids with the, look, it's a weapon.
To be fair, though, they were the most preposterous weapons. Like I said, one was a bazooka and the other one was some kind of handgun that had a stock and a binocular on top of it. It was weird. There's only
Nintendo wanted you ready for actual all-out war. That's
all-out war. They were arming kids with RPGs.
Yeah. If you can handle one of them, then we can get. If it goes to a Cold War thing and it really escalates, we've got you. You're ready. I'm
pretty sure the Super Scope is a little bit lighter than an actual RPG.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm pretty sure that actual soldiers are stronger than 8-year-old children as well. So I think it both scales up, really.
So what you're saying, Brad, is that you condone the use of children in these future wars that are coming, that you seem to be a party to, that nobody else does.
Well, what I've got now is this one section of generation, which is current 15 to 21, 22-year-olds that are just the failed generation.
The failed generation. You're useless and you'll never amount to anything.
They are. They're the ones who can't differentiate between how you speak to your mate in the playground or at the corner shop and how you speak to a stranger or how you go to an interview. That's that generation. Get rid of them. Send them off to war and be done with it. Generation coming up, I could solve all the life problems if I cared.
That's pretty much the monologue of the government, isn't it? If we cared, we could solve everything.
Yeah. Although my version of it is I learned how to do solving problems the Pol Pot way, which is just kill everyone.
Just let God sort them out.
You've been playing City Skylines again.
I see. I got.
There was one thing. I'm sorry. I know we're going. It's actually this is kind of a meta violence in video games. I was reading. It might have been PC Gamer or it was Imager. It was an Imager, and somebody in City Skyline had dammed the river next to their city, and then they built residential and commercial areas on the riverbed, and then that's where the post ended, and everybody's like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna delete that down because we want to see that? And everybody's like in this like minor glee that this person holds these poor little Sims, whatever they are, and like destinies in the palm of their hand. I mean, aside from the fact that stupid AI bastards were daft enough to build their houses on the riverbed where there's a massive dam. I need to follow up on that because that
would be amazing.
That's brilliant. And that's the one thing about the City Skyline, because I'm like cities, but the amount of mods that have come out for it already, I'm really interested in that. And one of the poor buggers that got laid off from Maxis, he's been like mecking.
He's
buildings.
doing a Patreon, isn't he?
Yeah, he's making buildings for it and stuff, which is ace. But this kind of, it's like The Sims, where you get the meta game beyond the game, where people start doing all these funky stuff, and you're like, I'm really interested to see how this pans out.
What, such as you lure them into a room and then remove the door?
Yep, put them into a swimming pool, put a fence around it, take the ladders away. Yep.
And see how long it takes them to actually die.
Yep, remove the refrigerator, take all the doors away, make them starve to death, all that.
The best one that I've seen for City Skylines was that they got everyone to move out of the city except one family. And then
they spied on the family, didn't they?
They just spied on the family and just watched them live and die and recreate. It's just amazing.
It's cracking. It's absolutely fantastic.
I love how people. But this shows what video games does for it. I know sort of like, you know, cutting off one family from all existence, or you know, threatening your whole entire town or city from devastation by a thin dam, and then having that power in your hand to kill them all. This the other side, but you know, it gives people an escape, and that's what it does. It gives people an escape. You know, if anyone says they've not had thoughts on something they can do that's destructive, maybe not violent, but destructive, they're lying. And video games gives you that escapism that I think a book and a film cannot give you.
Like you say, Skylines is a very good example of what essentially is an entirely passive game, and like The Sims before it, instills murderous and malevolent thoughts in even the most placid of people, because it's a god complex. You know, you are giving these people the power over life and death of these fake people. And it's like, it's not in the literal sense of Call of Duty, where you are shooting, you know, insurgent number 3642. But you do have these thousands of people that you hold their life in their hands, and at your whim you can wipe them out. I mean, the whole thing about video games, it's escapism and power tripping.
Yeah.
It allows you to do things you can't do. And the violence in video games, I mean, some games, I would say, whether they're too violent. One thing that really bothers me, I'm going to get onto this this early as we're talking about it, because it's the one game series that really bothers me. And there's not much that does bother me in video games, because you play them for long enough, you've seen it or whatever. The game that really bothers me is the Mortal Kombat series in the last 2 or 3 iterations. Because they've been doing the brutality and the fatality videos when they've been releasing a new character for Mortal Kombat X, 10, whatever. And the one thing about the new fatalities, like from Mortal Kombat 9 as well, is that they are ultra violent. They are incredibly violent, but they seem, and this sounds a bit weird, but they seem violent in a very mean way, in a very spiteful way. I can't explain it quite well. Is that, you know, it's just.
As opposed to the friendly ways you can pull someone's heart out of their rib cage.
Fuck off! This is why I can't explain it, because it's like it goes out of its way to promote this ultra violence for no other reason it can, and it's unashamedly because it can. And so it's just, I mean, I'm not a prude by any stretch of imagination, and it just Mortal Kombat just seems as ironic as it sounds, vulgar in its violence. That's just me. Don't judge me. Sure.
No, I get what you mean.
I am a bit.
Yes, you are. Sorry, Brad. Go on. Andrew was being judgmental.
No. I mean, what the game that does that for me is one I reviewed very recently, and that's Hotline Miami 2. And I've gone through it again, and I still can't put my finger on it. Hotline Miami, I adored the ultra violence in that. It worked as part of the game, and it got me in the same way that Clockwork Orange got me, where you know this is awful, you know what they're doing is just so wrong, but at the same time you want more of it. You're like, just feed this ultra violence to me, and I love that. Hotline Miami 2, it just didn't seem to fit. I don't know if it's because the story was nonsensical, whereas Hotline Miami for me had more of a structure to the story. But it didn't work. I had a look at, was it this whole idea that they're creating a film of the first events and that's just a case for redoing the violence or going further with the violence? But then I've looked at other stuff I've watched. I really love the idea of Scream and the later Scream films, where again that's based on movies and things like that or previous events. Even though it's really bad, the Freddy film, the New Nightmare, I loved the concept behind that. So it wasn't even, it was the absurdness of basing it on a film of the events, but the violence in it just seemed pointless to me. It just seemed too much in comparison to what the first game was and other games. And
I've not played it. What is the difference?
It flashes up. The first thing it flashes up before you start the game is would you like to turn off scenes of sexual violence?
We talked about this last week, didn't we?
Yeah. And to be honest, I'd said, because I'm reviewing it, I went, no, let's not. And the thing you go through, it introduces you to the mechanics a little bit. You kill someone, you go through another bit, you kill them, and then you start having sex with what I believe is the corpse. Now, in itself, I wasn't shocked by it, I wasn't appalled by it, but I went, I don't really want to see that in the game, because that takes it a bit too far. And again, I'm not a prude. But I seem to have this mental block between violence, and I can happily shoot someone in the face time and time again, dismember them, cut their heads off, whatever.
Soldier of Fortune!
Yeah, I could happily, where there's been games where there's been scenes of torture. I love those. I can do that. Torturing someone is absolutely brilliant.
I don't know. I mean, what I've got problem with
in context, by the way.
I can't remember when I've tortured someone. I'm sure I have tortured someone.
Have you played GTA 5?
No.
Splinter Cell does it.
GTA 5.
Waiting for it to come out on the PC. God's sake.
You'll be waiting forever. No, GTA 5 has one with Trevor, and you choose implements of torture. And the thing is, it's like, the thing about the torture scene wasn't that it was a torture scene, it's just that it seems so out of character for Rockstar to do. It felt really weird, because Rockstar don't need to shock people anymore. They don't need to do it. They're top of their heap. GTA sells 1 billion copies no matter what it does. And it always grabs the headlines, and in terms of that, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
No.
But this torture scene, it just felt like them trying to be controversial for the sake of it, and they are cleverer than that. They
Well,
are much better than that, and it just felt really out of place, even though Trevor's completely. In fact, the bits later on in GTA 5 where Trevor proper loses his fucking nuts, portray it better, funnier, more disturbing than the bit where you're pulling some poor bastard's teeth out.
yeah, see that's my problem with that scene. Is Trevor is someone who's on the edge. He can lose it at any moment, and they portray that character really well throughout.
Yes, he is the best character in the game.
Yeah. But the torture scene that they had is someone who wasn't psycho, who wasn't Trevor. As it was almost more someone who's calm and manipulative and understands exactly what they're doing to get to. That's not Trevor.
No.
If they'd got one of the other guys to do it, I could have understood that scene.
If they'd have put Michael in that situation and forced Michael to do it, it would have been more impactful. Is impactful a word? It doesn't sound like a word.
No, but it'd be like the scene out of Reservoir Dogs with Michael Madsen.
Yeah, you know,
that works.
I tell you what, Andrew. You know, being the curmudgeon that you are, and you know, having actually crawling out of your fucking 8-bit hole and top-down shoot or whatever. But you should play GTA 5. GTA 5 is worth playing, even if you do.
Play it when it comes out. It's a new release coming soon.
Fucking, you've got a PS4. You could have been playing it for 3 months.
I was waiting for the
definitive version. Good luck with that. You're still waiting for it, aren't you, prick? No.
Yeah, I am. I think it's next month, isn't it? Mid-April?
It's been next month for the last 6 months.
It came out in October last year. It's like October and November, one of them. But no, I tell you what, one thing, I think I've said this before, I want to see how well it runs, and I want to see if they've put the reflections in the mirrors when you've got the first-person view. That's what I want to see from the PC version. Because that's relevant. Anyway, so...
Punisher game, that's what I've done torturing.
Do you know what? I never played that. I wanted to play it.
It was quite good.
Apparently it was. Yeah, you know, you got them on the drill and you put the drill through their eye and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You see, that's what the weird thing about the Punisher is the Punisher was a M-rated character in a PG-13 universe. And it always was. Up until somebody at Marvel had literally the most amazing idea of making an adult range and giving it to Garth Ennis. They couldn't have given it anybody else more suitable and in for better or for worse. And Punisher, at least the first 6 trade paperbacks of Punisher Max are fucking brilliant. They're amazing because they are just because Castle. This is going on. The Punisher game is pretty much Castle as he should be. You know, he's lost his family. He's lost everything. And he is going to make sure that the criminal element of New York City are going to pay for absolutely every transgression that they've ever made. And it's fantastic. It's just a shame that Punisher Warzone was so awful. Because, what was his name? The dude that played him, he was in Spartacus and he was in Thor. Ray Stevenson. Ray Stevenson did it really well. He played Castle really, really well. And it's just a shame that it didn't fall into the main canon of the universe. Because, you know, Castle showing up in Avengers 3, that'd be brilliant. That'd be awesome. I'd pay 4 times to see that. That'd be fucking brilliant.
But another place where I think torture is handled not as well as it could have been in a game is in Splinter Cell Conviction.
Never played it. Never played it.
Now,
that too.
He is Sam's a broken man in that. He's an absolute broken man. And
which one's Conviction? Is Conviction the one before the one where we weren't expecting it to be good?
Yeah, it's the hobo one where you've got hobo Sam Fisher with a beard.
Yeah, before he got a facelift.
Yeah, his reasoning for why he does things, and that includes torture, and that makes sense. But it was as though the developers and the writers were scared of letting him go down that path. Now, a game based upon an absolutely mentally broken Sam Fisher, knowing his skills and using them not just for, you know, the government and so on and so forth, and using them just out of pure revenge, I'd play that game. that would be an amazing game where you are, it is a proper anti-hero.
You'd never get that from someone like Ubisoft though. You've never seen a company so entirely focus tested. I mean, look at fucking Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed is never going to be anything other than what it is because they can't get out of the trench they've dug themselves into. The thing is about torture scenes and the ultra-violence. I mean, Hotline Miami. I tell you about Hotline Miami. The thing that unsettled me more than the smashing the guy's head into the ground and busting the face with the butt of your gun, the soundtrack. The soundtrack was deeply unsettling. I love it. It's brilliant. Seriously, the soundtrack was more unsettling than the actual game. It was weird.
What the soundtrack did in that for me is the way it mixed the sound depending on different scenarios. And there was some scenarios where you was doing the most brutal of things, but the music was very much. And again, I think it goes back to an influence from Clockwork Orange. The music was bright and bubbly and techno.
It's like that bit in Dawn of the Dead where they're walking around the mall and shooting everybody. It's going. Yeah, it's like that. But no, the thing is, a lot of because gaming, to use an often repeated description, gaming is a very immature medium. In that it's not very old, it's not very developed. It's kind of accelerated beyond books and movies and whatever else. And so developers often mistake maturity for things like rape scenes and ultraviolence, and it's not a mature theme. Making something bloody for the sake of making it bloody. It's like the thing last year with Advanced Warfare, and you press X to salute. I didn't have a problem with it. It's whatever. I didn't have a problem with it because it's what I fucking expect from the video game industry. I expect that level of bullshit. Cobbler's rubbish, ill thought out. Kind of, we're making not a statement but respect. It's like, no, you've got no idea. You're talking bollocks. Stop it. Just stop.
That was just stupid.
It was just ridiculous. But it's like there are games out there which escape me at the minute because I should have done my research for this because I had this point on mind before I even fucking started talking. There are actually mature games out there.
This war of mine.
You what? Sorry.
This War of Mine springs to mind.
I don't know. It's not. I've been playing that for a bit recently, and it's not as. It feels like a video game. It feels a lot like a video game, and it's very hard to get really caught up in the seriousness of it because some bits of it are just so video gamey. Like, I want to allocate this person to dig out a hole for a while just because I want to get to the cupboard that's behind it. You don't really feel like something that happens in a war zone that, there's a cupboard behind this pile, let's move this pile of dirt. And at the very start of the game, you do spend quite a lot of time moving big piles of dirt. And then you get to it does get worse, obviously, but it's... I don't know, there's a house nearby that an old couple lived in, and it's quite a nice house. It's the kind of house you'd like to retire in, and it says something like that in the game, that this is the sort of house I'd like to own. And there's the old couple there, and I'd run out of food, so I sent my guy that could run really fast there and snuck into the kitchen. Then the old couple came and were like, "What are you doing?" So I just punched the old man in the face and emptied his fridge and went home. But it never felt like I'd just punched an old man in the face and taken all his food. When you break that down into an actual description, it's quite horrible. But in the game, it just felt like I've not really got to kill them, so...
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a bit... I've been slightly disappointed by it. In terms of mature and horrible, Papers, Please is definitely the one that... gave me the biggest that's when I found out that my uncle and my brother and my children and my wife or whoever it was had just died because I'd not done a good enough job. Your family's all really ill now. I'll try and do the paperwork faster next time.
I like the fact that Andrew's reaction to devastating news was,
it's, that's an inconvenient. Who's going to make my tea when I get home?
Well,
Yeah,
I don't know. It's quite a strange reaction to get to a video game, isn't it? It's that
there's definitely been video games that have made me feel, I'm not completely dead inside, regardless of popular opinion. But there's like any medium, like books, like movies. Video games have got the ability to move you. As wanky as that sounds, and it does sound wanky, but they do, and it's one of those things that needs a deft hand, and it needs to be handled correctly and not by some dude bro like Gears of War 2. I mean, Gears of War is I love Gears of War 1 to 4, well 1 to 3 and Judgment. Can't wait for E3
1 to 3 and that one that no one really knew they released, to be honest.
Which is bizarre because Judgment is actually fantastic.
No one noticed it come out though.
But it's great. But people won't notice it because they are going to announce the HD collection at E3 because they'll announce Gears of War 5. I bet you. Fantastic.
Yeah.
It'll be, and you know what? I will buy it all over again, and I will play.
Although they won't, they're going to announce Gears of War or something, and it'll be a reboot. It was no way they're going to call it Gears of War 5. It'll be some kind of wanky.
I don't see why they can't set it. So anyway,
Gears of War Guardians.
Gears of War Guardians. The thing is, Microsoft have got nothing after Halo, so they need something. So they're going to announce Gears of War. Yes. But they've already said it's working anyway. But yeah, but the HD collection. But the thing is, Gears of War was like 2006, I think.
Yeah.
And so it was, super bloody, chainsaws on your fucking gun, the most impractical weapon in the world, and it works brilliantly. It's like, I'm going to cut this big dude in half on something that would probably warp the barrel because it gets so hot because it's running at 8,000 RPM or some shit. And the thing in the second one with Dom's wife, it's like in all this fucking planet when all these people have been abducted by the locust, and he happens to find his missus down in the fucking catacombs, and you're like, yeah, you can stop pulling me pud now. It don't work like that. You can no. I mean, just no. And it's just clumsy shit like that happens far too often. And it's not even. The thing is, it's like so. The violence in video games things goes hand in hand with the maturity thing. Because you can make it as bloody. I mean, it's like Call of Duty. Call of Duty is violent in that you have a gun and you shoot people. It's not especially bloody. It's not like Soldier Fortune where you got 13 different parts of dismemberment. I think it was 13 or 22, something like that, and you could shoot their arms and legs off.
And then shoot them in half again once they're on the floor.
Yeah, it's like, you see, that just seems mean. It seems pointless. But at the time, it's like people went absolutely fucking nuts because you could do these things. I mean, when you could give people in Quake, shit, man, I loved that shit. Shotgun, boom, quad damage, fantastic. It was great.
But the thing we've got is we, for some reason, we associate mature themes with two things. Violence and sex. Now, not saying they can't be mature and they can't be used towards mature themes, but I've looked back and there is probably in recent years 4 games that have either genuinely moved me to tears or basically hit me right in the feels in some description.
Right in the feels, you're so down.
I know. Look, I've got gel in my hair and everything. I've got a loose tie, I'm there. But anyway,
you're hip. You're
the
cool.
obvious one is Last of Us. We're not going to spoil anything, but the opening scene, that got me.
Oh, now you see, now.
Go on.
I've not played that yet.
No, you don't play The Last of Us at all.
No.
Even I've played The Last of Us, and I couldn't get on with it on the PS3, and I played
it's
PS4.
It's not coming out on PC, Andrew.
Yeah, I kind of meant to buy it for the PS4, but in there, saw it for 15 quid when it was reduced to download. And to download all 6 billion gigabytes of it. So I was like, well, it'll get that cheap in real life now. Never has.
I could have told you that. The PS3 one took forever to drop.
Yeah.
In fact, the PS3 one didn't drop until the PS4 one came out. Because people upgraded to it. The thing is about The Last of Us. The Last of Us was a really weird thing because The Last of Us, like Uncharted, The story, the acting, the voice acting, all the mocap, all that good stuff is all incredible. It's almost beyond parallel. It's fantastic. And so The Last of Us makes you feel certain things because of the way it's written, and then the certain way that they're acted, and Troy Baker is fantastic in it because he doesn't sound like Troy Baker. It's great. And the relationship between Ellie and Joel is fantastic. And so that first bit, which you really should, even if you just play the first bit and then sell it, whatever. But the first bit is actually you kind of play it and you go, I'm not sure I want, seeing as the precedent's been set, I'm not sure I want to play it any further. And to a degree, a lot of The Last of Us gets easier to play as you go on because you get more desensitized to it, because it's really, really emotionally difficult to play at times.
But you're going through that journey with Joel. Joel going through that exact same journey. You can see him getting more and more desensitized to everything around him, and his entire focus becoming...
It's very, very clever. It's really clever.
But that first scene did move me, and I sat there and I had to go, right, I'm done for tonight.
You see, I should imagine that it hit you. Oh, I don't want to use that phrase. It hit me right in the... No, fuck off.
At the heartstrings.
We're just black coal heart that we've got as gamers. We don't feel moved. We don't fucking care. No, I should imagine that affected you a bit more because you're a parent. I'm not a parent. He's not a parent. We're not parents. And so I should imagine that. I mean, it's one of them things that I keep getting told ad nauseum about my friends that have children. Is that, you don't really know it till you've got kids. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I'm glad that you've got your offspring. It's great. But it's like there's apparently some kind of bond that you get that makes you turn into a complete blubbering mess when something happens to a child you have attachment to, or blah, 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 blah in a video game. And so... It's... what the fuck do you want from me?
No, because my next example is going to just hammer that point home. But
go on, you might as well do it, seeing as we're there.
No,
Go on.
Persona 4 Golden.
Now, you see, I love Persona 4, but I haven't played more than about 6-7 hours of it.
Right, there's a scene in that right towards the end.
Is it of Nanako and Hiro?
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, that's really set up early. Have you played Persona 4?
Obviously not. No.
God, have you played anything other than Pac-Man or fucking Gallagher or
PC,
anything?
But anyway, there's a bit where I let my parental instincts take over my decision making.
Right.
And when you get to that point, you'll know exactly what it is, and you'll make a gaming decision. I made a parenting decision.
Do you know what? I'm going to get on with that. I'm going to say, basically...
I started, tears were flowing.
Really?
Because again, it's really well written.
You're massive. Persona 4 is incredible. The Persona 3 is incredible, Persona 4 is incredible. The Persona 4 that I didn't care because they sounded like a grind-a-thon. Just to explain it for Andrew and anybody else that, hasn't played Persona, you end up in with your uncle and your cousin. And your uncle's a detective in the police force and he's out all the time. And so even early on in the game, you can see that your cousin starts looking to you as a father figure because the dad's not around. It's not as cack-handed as it sounds. It's actually really well handled. So I can see how that becomes something, inverted commas, later on. But actually, the Persona series is actually a really good example of mature themed games. No, they are, because you...
Apart from spying on Rize in the showers, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, but that just makes you a fucking weirdo. It's your own fucking fault. And Danganronpa! It's like these text adventures, and to a degree, Phoenix Wright. The kind of visual novels. I mean, I keep getting told that I should play Virtue's Last Reward and 999 on the DS. Because they're all really well written, but it's kind of... I think it's kind of telling that the ones that are a bit more mature in the proper sense rather than the gore, violent, sex sense are the ones that are more of a text-based written thing rather than an actual go and shoot this dude in the face like that. But fucking David piss-ass cunt wank fucking Cage who can burn in hell for his transgressions because I just want to shove my fist down his neck and rip his fucking lungs out. God, I hate that guy. Fucking...
Violence.
He deserves it. Shut up.
But
I don't think I've ever played any of his games, so you know.
Do you know what? I played them for the minimum amount of time, but one thing, it's like he doesn't get it. This is a precise example of what he doesn't get. You just watch any of the playthroughs, because don't play them, don't give him money, don't even buy them second hand, and it's like you kind of, oh, it makes my teeth itch. You just look at them and they're so cack-handed, and it's so hand-wringingly awful and unsubtle, and sledgehammer wrapped in barbed wire to the face, and you just...
You see, this is why I didn't play them.
Yeah, see?
But for me, as much as Last of Us and Persona 4, they handle maturity better than a lot of other games.
Yeah.
I will still maintain. Now, there's faults with the game itself, but one of the most mature games I have played in the last couple of years is Never Alone. Because that assumes intelligence on the user, or on people who are playing it, and it tries to tell you a story. It has a proper beginning, and it takes you on a journey right to the very end. The platforming could be a little bit hit and miss here and there, but the actual story, and it's a fact story as well. It's not something that's been just written and made up. It's based on various myths and legends from their people, and some of it really isn't pleasant to listen to. And it takes you on a proper emotional journey, and that is mature. And it's not trying to go, hey, here's some violence, or, oh, this is the sex bit coming up, and you're going to get upset at this bit. But you go through and play it, and then afterwards you can even watch the videos back in order. And you feel something for these people. And you come away from that. Not only do you come away from that having felt something, you feel you've learned something, you've been educated in a way. And it hasn't been thrust upon you like you're a 5-year-old child with a condescending teacher telling you need to know this.
This is the thing. It's like, I want to play it. And I'll play it probably when it's reduced, Steam sale. Is it on PC? I don't know. It's just
Yes, it is. Yes.
Steam sale. It'll be.
Yeah, and I've not played it, which is weird.
It's weird for you.
Yeah.
Weirdo. But no, it's I want to play it. But from what I've read of the reviews generally tend to split it into like about 6 out of 10 and about 9 out of 10, and it entirely depends where the reviewer has come from and whether they're playing it as a video game, or, for want of a less wanky term, they're playing it as an experience. And that seems to be the kind of thing. And it actually leads on to the whole thing about children and violent video games, in a very roundabout way, is that it's the presumed or perceived or intended intelligence of the audience. And so you got the people who reviewed Never Alone as a video game, and they went, it's not a very good video game. And you got the people who went in with a bit more of an open mind, maybe, and said, yeah, the platforming's a bit rubbish and stuff, but you get all this extra goodness out of it. Now, children going to games, I envy kids. I wish I could gain what I had as a child when I was playing video games, especially as the fact, I mean, like me and my mate went through Streets of Rage 2 on Monday night on Xbox Live Arcade, and it's like it took us an hour, and I'm like, I played this game more and longer because I got this much out of it. It's like my 10-year-old nephew has finally been allowed to play Call of Duty games. I had a conversation with my sister. She is their parent, and she is entirely up to her what they play. Again, the GTA 5 thing, she's been through it. It wouldn't surprise me, I think it was you that said this, Brad, that if he went into GTA 5 and all he did was drive around, obeying the traffic rules and finding somewhere to park, that wouldn't surprise me. And what the thing is about kids and violence in video games is that you have to allow for the intelligence of the child seeing what they see in that game. If you wanted to play Dying Light, I would probably very strongly advise against it because it's really gory and stuff. However, by his age, I'd already watched Aliens and American Werewolf in London and Nightmare on Elm Street and blah, 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 blah. And so it's kind of... I don't think people put enough emphasis on how clever their children can be and how they can tell right from wrong. And I find that a bit sad.
Yes.
I was thinking about it because, you know, I'm a diligent professional. And the real conclusion that I came to was that it's a bit like the word polygons. In that...
What?
Yeah, go with me here.
There's a point. It's coming.
When the PlayStation came out, you get told that the game that's coming out soon made up of 120 polygons, and you'll be like, that's a lot of polygons, that's excellent work. And then it would also say, like you said with Soldier of Fortune, that it's got X number of points of
Dismemberment,
and that those things were kind of in the same way, that once they got a new technical ability, they could then do a new kind of violence, which then became something to show off about. So when it showed off in a press release, then the media saw it and were like, well, this is news because it's appeared in a press release. And they make a fuss, and then something happens in the world. So then the media go, well, I saw that press release, and oh, something's happened in the world. I'll put those together. Yeah. And now we've got to the point where, I mean, can you imagine if a game came out now? I mean, like, stupid David Cage did it. But if a game came out now and its biggest selling point was the number of polygons in the main character, you'd just laugh at its face and go, that's the most ridiculous thing ever. I don't care how many polygons are in its face. Every game looks good now. Yeah, voxels. Awesome.
Yeah, that's an infamous word, isn't it?
But now there's nothing that they can do in terms of violence that's actually impressive anymore. You can't say it's really impressive that he's got this many points of dismemberment. So everything's been done. I mean, Mortal Kombat now, I mean, yeah, it pulls out intestines and, oh, look, intestines, but it's still not, it's not a technical achievement. It's just we've done some modelling and now we've got intestines.
You see, this is the thing. It's not even that Mortal Kombat does anything new, because I mean, I've been playing Zombie Army Trilogy, and you shoot, you know, like in Sniper Elite before it, you shoot people in the head. It sometimes goes to a slow-mo bit, and you see the skull explode and the vertebrae shatter. Do you know what? I'm actually. That's actually, when I said things don't move me, it's like, actually that bit when you shoot and it goes in slow-mo and you see their like vertebrae shatter, that's so satisfying.
It's unbelievably satisfying. It's just the most lovely feeling when it goes in their eye and you're like, you saw that coming.
At the same time, right, that's done really well. But even that, this is a video game thing, and this is why video games should never be taken seriously as a way of, you should not let people play this in any way, shape or form. Zombie Army Trilogy is gory. It's beautiful. Well, that's artwork sometimes.
It is. It's absolute poetry in violent motion.
But even then, they go, do you know what? Do you know what would be quite funny? Let's get an X-ray of someone's balls being shot. Because only that can happen in video games. If you've done that in Saving Private Ryan, no one's going to take that film seriously, so they don't do it.
It goes the opposite direction of mature subtlety, doesn't it? It's literally the polar opposite. It's like, what's the most juvenile, over-the-top thing we can think of? Oh, it's blowing somebody's ball sack off and watching it in slow motion.
My favourite thing about those games is that it applies it to the engines of the cars you blow up as well. As if they were just saying, look, it does it with the cars as well. It's just something that happens when you shoot things.
It's not like...
And the cylinders go a bit faster and you're like, oh, yeah, cylinders. Oh,
but
it's
this is where
exciting.
video games really missed the point as well. I was watching...
cylinders.
Our favourite, our one and only favourite guest earlier today, Mr. Carl Bosman, and he's talking about stupid things in video games. And he mentions Battlefield Hardline. And do you know what? I've totally blanked that game at the moment. So I part of me wants to go, I want to play it for the multiplayer, but I've blanked it. And he talks about there's a scene in there where there's a couple of dirty cops or something that's just done a drugs bust, and they're going, oh, no, we're going to steal this coke for ourselves and stuff like that. And the guy takes it onto a forklift truck, gets stuck on the train tracks, which just so happen to be going by the warehouse where they're going. and he won't get off. And they put him off just as the train hits the forklift. There's metal going everywhere. There's coke flying everywhere. And the next scene is them going in covered in coke. And, don't ask. And he's basically going, where's the shards of metal? Where's the wood that should have decapitated and stuff like that? And you cannot take.
It's a play. The thing is with games like Battlefield Hardline and Battlefield 4, one, the single players are awful. They're uniformly fucking rubbish. And secondly, it's Hollywood movie logic.
Yeah.
Shit gets blown up. It's like, do you know what? One thing that I really kind of that's kind of grind my gears is that people didn't get inverted commas Last Action Hero. People didn't understand it. Last Action Hero is actually a really good movie about Hollywood. Like, because when Schwarzenegger's character comes out of the film and the bad guy's driving off in the taxi and he's shooting the taxi's engine and it doesn't blow up and he's like, why didn't the fuel tank blow up? It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. But it's like that kind of thing doesn't get applied near enough because it's not spectacular enough. Shit doesn't get blown up easily enough. I mean, it's like what did Eurogamer say? It's Hardline's less The Wire and more Bad Boys.
Yeah.
And it's like, but the thing is, I know for a fact that the single player of Hardline will be so much more po-faced than Bad Boys or Bad Boys 2. And it's like, no, do you know what? I think video games should be along the same line. I view video games in the way that I view heavy metal. It should be absolutely ridiculous. It should be the most preposterous, balls to the wall, foot down, stupid thing you've ever experienced in your life.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't think enough games embrace that. I keep banging on about how video games should feel video gamey. And I think there's a place for, like for Never Alone and stuff like that where you don't get the video game side of it, you get something else out of it instead, and that's great and that's fine and that's what makes it wonderful.
Just
but also
straddle both sides essentially.
Yeah, don't try to mold it into something that it could never be. It just, you got to. I've said I'm not going to buy Hardline because Battlefield 4 was a mess for a year. For a full 12 months, it was fucking horrible. I know for a fact I'll pick it up on Friday because I'm a twat. Because I am that guy, and I will hate myself for it. Sorry, Andrew, you had a point. Well,
I did, although it's kind of vaguely moved. But the other thing, whilst I was thinking about it, is that I think there's a genuine problem with things like Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed and things, which are massively, massively violent video games, but you don't really ever see any violence in them. I think
sanitized.
That's a bad thing.
Yep, it's very sanitized. It's like
appear and knives move into people and then that's it. You don't get any effect out of it. And I think that is a very strange thing. And that's, I think, why the whole bad boys but not actually bad boys problem comes about, because they try and aim it for everyone. They're trying to aim violent games at kids that shouldn't really be playing them because they're not actually violent. And they're trying to
PG-13 violence.
Yeah. This is it. It's like when you see Taken's got a 12 rating when the first Taken was 15. It was great because you saw Liam Neeson fucking popping people and stuff like that, and then you get the second one. It's absolute dog shit because it's been cut to Expendables 3. And it's like, I mean, Expendables is a stupid film, but it's the way that the third one is edited is so butchered. You don't see anything. It's terrible. It's absolutely.
It's a very strange phenomenon, and it's worse in video games as well.
It is
because you do. It's not like in a film where it cunningly turns the camera away as the bullet's about to hit them. It's the bullet genuinely hits them. You can walk up to them and you can shoot them, and at point blank range, and
nothing happens.
Nothing happens, which is a very, very strange. But it's quite scary when you actually stop and think about it. Something like Mortal Kombat is this is utterly ridiculous. It's horrible, but it's ridiculous, and you can't really see anyone using the Force to pull people's intestines out. But you can see how a little kid who's seen shooting could pick up someone's gun and shoot them and not know what happens when someone gets shot.
I
Which is,
you see, I
don't
think
have a gun laying around, obviously, but if you do,
I think
it's
no. You see, I'm not entirely sure because this is exactly where it starts veering off into social factors, parenting factors, the intelligence of the upbringing. It becomes a very fractured thing.
No, I don't mean purposeful ones. I mean like a 5-year-old who's seen Call of Duty being played by their older brother, and there's a gun lying around in the house. Someone who's not old enough, who's completely who doesn't know what a gun is, who genuinely doesn't know. You can see that they would think that a gun would do what a gun does in a video game.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
is where I'm going to go. Speaking as a parent,
It took us 56 minutes to get there. Sorry.
it is, but this is a point I wanted to raise at the start, but I think we've trundled along nicely with the subject. But the point I want to make at the start is Lucas has been playing video games since he was 3, in one form or another. It might have been just some kiddie game on the DS or something like that. But from the very first time he played a video game or watched me with a video game, he's been spoken to about it. He's as he's got older, I've picked and chose what video games he can play, made sure they're put on for him. If they've got anything in that I'm not sure about, he will be spoken to about it. We'll discuss it. I show an interest in what he does. Now, that also goes to other bits. He likes playing the keyboard. He likes doing music. I don't do that, but I will still discuss it with him. He likes reading books. I'm not a big book reader myself. My partner is. But it's discussed with him. So the themes of the books will be discussed with him to a degree. And a lot of what this is all down to parenting. If you basically go and stick an Xbox One in another room, in a bedroom or something like that, and go to your kids, off you go, do what you want, they've got access to so much, but they've got no outlet for questions. Especially when they say something to a parent and the parent turns around and goes, yeah, well, whatever, I don't really care and I don't understand video games. Kid comes to you and they ask a question, you answer it. You make sure you answer it and you discuss it with them. Because I've done that with Lucas over the past 5 years since he started playing, I feel comfortable now that I can sit here, do what I'm doing on my computer, working. He can sit at the Xbox, and I don't mind if he plays Call of Duty, because at the same time, if he turns around to me and asks a question, we verify something, and he's asked about certain weapons in certain games, and are these real weapons? And it's like, well, they are, but they're military grade. It's not something you can go in just anyone can get. He's played other games where he goes, this worries me, and we've discussed why does it worry you, and stuff like that. But unfortunately, what happens is so many parents will just dump their kids in front of a games console, and then when their kids turns around and they're pretending to shoot people and stuff like that, which I have more of issue with toy guns than I do video game guns, because I think putting a toy weapon in a child's hands, I think gives them more encouragement and it gets into their head more than what a video game does. But again, it's discuss things with your kids. Parent, don't let entertainment devices raise your kids completely. Get involved with them, because that's how you'll stop it all. And the kids, as you said earlier, Steve, are so much more intelligent
They are.
now than we were back then, because the information's everywhere around them.
It's available in such a vast quantity that I can't imagine not having to regulate or not regulate, but generally kind of explain to kids how the world works, because they can just go on a PC and get it. I mean, even if you trust them implicitly, they'll still find the way to YouTube or whatever, and Wikipedia, and knowledge is great. It really is. I'd rather. I mean, I know people say this about their kids and family, but my nephews are incredibly bright. They are so bright, and the fact that my nephew is more than capable of differentiating between what's real and what's not is brilliant. But there's so many kids that kind of can't make that distinction. But then you go, you know, is that the parents? Is it the innate intelligence? You know, the whole psychology thing. It's just
The best example I've got is my mum has never restricted us from anything. You know, she would, when I was younger, when I was about 9 or 10, I asked about alcohol, and she was like, if you want to try a little bit and see what it's like. You know, very controlled, but not demonising anything for a start. And video games. I've played video games since as long as I can remember. I started off with an Atari. I've gradually moved up, and she's always supported that. She's played some games with me, and again, she showed that interest with me. And I've never been in trouble with the law, aside from my bullying at school, where you know I spoke about how it was actually video games that probably saved my life and the lives of others. I've never really had that I want to go and hurt anyone type thing. And a lot of that I put down, I think, to video games.
yeah.
My brother is the total opposite. He never really cared about video games. He, you know, occasionally would jump on a PlayStation for 10 minutes, but doesn't really care, never really played them. And he's been in trouble with the law. He ended up in prison. And he's turned his life around now, and he's got a very good job and stuff like that. But that is me. For me, that's almost fact that goes, well, I tell you what, it's not video games that are the issue.
No.
And to a degree, it's not also parenting, because my mum never treated me or my brother in any way differently. But he had these choices that he made, I had these choices, and it's those choices that I think you make from a certain age that then decide what sort of person you're going to be. And my brother's as kind-hearted as anyone. You know, I even in prison when he was there, the guards loved him. And knew him by name and stuff like that, and treated him with respect. They absolutely.
I'm sorry. That I know that shouldn't be funny, but it is. I'm sorry.
It is.
Well, it goes.
Really?
We went to visit him. We went to visit him, and Lucas drew a picture in the visiting room, and technically not allowed to take anything back to the cells afterwards. So he's taken this picture to my brother, and my brother's gone, you're going to need to ask the guard. So Lucas has gone up, and he's like going speaking to him. He's like, the guard's gone, which one's your uncle? And he's pointed to my brother. And he's gone, oh, right, yeah, we know him. And he's gone, well, can he take this back to his cage? Literally, from that point, you've got these guards, and they're pissing themselves laughing after the visiting rooms laughing. And literally, when the buzzer goes to take them all back, as my brother's going back, he's gone, right, come on then, back to your cage and stuff like that. And you can see he had banter with the guard because he's a really likeable person, but decisions have influenced certain bits that sent him down a negative path.
Yeah.
And I never had that. And I'd say you can't put everything on parenting. You can't put everything on what this direct influence is, because a lot of it is going to be what's there in your mind in the first place. And that sort of thing. Now, he went and done these other things and had influences from other people that sent him there. I'm very much, I can't let anyone down. I can't do failure. I'm not going to take these risks and that sort of thing. And
without wanting to take any seriousness away from us, at some point, I did start pretending that was a pitch for a Peter Molyneux game, and it was amazing.
To be fair,
we'll just walk around a bit and.
to be fair, I don't think the point gets more succinct than that. I think it's there's so many factors. There probably is too much violence in video games, but no more than there was in books. No more than there was in films.
Obviously less than there is in books. Have you read Jurassic Park?
Jurassic Park.
That's a messy book. That is a messy
brilliant. It's super violent. It's so good.
That's proper disturbing when I
Michael Crichton fucking living with his tinfoil hat in his cave away writing on a typewriter.
My nan bought me that book, and my nan hates video games because they're too... Well, hated, she's dead now. She hated video games.
This thing, on a video game, you've got a PEGI rating or a BBFC rating and a thing on the back that says violence, swearing, stuff like that. You know, in Jurassic Park, it's about dinosaurs. Yeah, about dinosaurs that eviscerate people and eat them.
The running claws up through a belly and the intestines falling out.
Gibbling out, Jesus.
I read that after I saw the film.
Yeah, so did I.
I just went, what? What?
It's amazing. So check out Jurassic Park.
Yeah, you got to read. If you haven't read it, I was anybody. If you haven't read
I
Jurassic
love
Park,
if the actual
get it
Lego
read.
games. Lego games have more references from the book than they do the film.
Yeah.
But the other thing I was thinking, which is quite a nice concluding thought, really, is that in the whole controversy around recently, when Gamergate and stuff has appeared in mainstream news and things, I've not seen a single reference to violent video games. All the fuss in the mainstream coverage is social media has done this to these people.
Yeah.
And social media is now video games, where video games were movies, where movies were rock and roll, where rock and roll were pulp novels. It's just moved on to that, and I don't think anyone is going to fuss about violence in video games ever again much.
No, but it all goes. Sorry, it all goes in circles because it's really funny. You get a big fuss made over this 50 Shades of Grey thingy, and oh look, that's perverted. I read a Mills and Boon book once.
Were you bored?
We really ought to do a books podcast as well.
I don't know why. I think it was just laying around, and I read it, and I just went, "This is filth."
Yes, this is the thing. It's like the thing is about. I mean, to be honest with you, social media and video games is an entire other podcast. It's ridiculous, but it's violence in video games is like harking back to the beginning. It's entirely desensitized. There's like you said, there's nowhere else for it to go. There's no more shock value. There's no technology that can be developed that's going to make the splatter more realistic or the bone.
Yeah, there's no news left anymore.
No, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go.
Unless you get the Japanese waifu pervert.
We are not.
No.
They won't though, will they?
No, of course they won't.
I mean,
it's a bit too
violent
weird.
Video games were just violent movies, which are fun.
They were, yeah. They were violent movies. It's like, you kind of go, like when you were talking to your mates in playground when we were little, you kind of, did you see aliens last night? Your face melt, kind of thing. And it's like, kids do that. Have you seen, GTA 5 and all that? But there's literally there's no shock value left in it.
Have you played Monster Monty?
There's going to be... Yeah, there's going to be fusses in video games. Video gamers are going to find something
to get
new
and
this is real. But I just can't see it ever becoming big news again.
No. The new GTA will always, like I say, this is why I think the torture scene in GTA 5 is a really cynical ploy by Rockstar to make headlines, because there's no
the thing is, those articles, even those articles when it appeared then, are always going to conclude with, and the last GTA sold $6.9 trillion. So maybe we should actually all buy this because it's clearly quite good.
Yeah.
Look out for our review on page 17.
Yeah,
that's the best bit, where they have an article in it, and it's always. I love when you get the hypocrisy of a Daily Mail website.
No, the paper that should not be named.
Okay, whatever. But you see this article about this is why this is bad, followed by these sub-advertising.
Well, it's like the fucking,
so-and-so's got bigger breasts.
Objectification of women. Have you seen this girl in a bikini? Fuck off.
My favourite one for that was Gemma Arterton appears on TV talking about women's rights in this lovely dress. She looked great.
Anyway, hypocrisy in the media. Future podcast.
We're having a fun one next week. We're going to have a fun one. It's been good. We kind of mix seriousness and faults and stuff.
I hope so.
Peter Molyneux pitch.
Yeah, the Peter Molyneux pitch. But
no.
Next week we're going to have a fun one. We're going to, if anyone's listening to this and they want to get involved, on our Facebook, on our
Please
Twitter.
do. Please do, because I've not got any thoughts at all yet.
I know, I'm dead as timber. Nothing.
On Twitter, we're at Gamestyle. On Facebook, obviously just search for us, or it's facebook.com/Gamestyle. Look at the website. We're on YouTube. Where you're obviously watching this. Subscribe. Tell your friends.
Reach to us. Talk to us. We want to know. We want to hear what you think. All that good stuff. Interaction. It is grand.
Next week, we're gonna have a bit of fun. We are going to go away this week and think of some great ideas that we'd like to see in video games that aren't happening. We're gonna be creative.
It's going to be a short podcast.
A few years back, we were selling for money. We were pitching for money. A few podcasts back where we was coming up with the ideas. It's just no one's run with them yet.
So now this time they definitely will.
You know, unless anything major happens, we're just gonna go and just have a bit of fun with it and not be as serious, because we're serious anyway. Also, we're gonna do, before we go, what's on the site this week. Atari, fuck you.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's us.
This week we've got quite a few interesting articles. We've had John Lappin has written another article, this time about indies, and literally he's putting us all to shame with what he writes. We've got Yan has got an article about Discworld, but more of a celebration of Terry Pratchett. That'll be going up before the weekend. We've got a few various reviews coming up, and hopefully one or two more Let's Play quick look type videos as well. And obviously archive versions of tonight's show to make sure you can share with your friends. Get them listening to us.
Yeah, download them and put them onto a cassette and then sell them to your mates around the playground. 20p a pop, come on. I'll do the Gamestyle live.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that. As obviously we're all good as long as neither Steve nor Andrew in a few years' time decide to start their own podcast that's a little bit like this, but name it different. We're all good. You Atari. Goodbye.
Good night.
Bye.